Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For cables, connectors, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by the Ham Station. Get your new radio or antenna by calling 800-729-4373 or go to hamstation.com.
It's Ham Radio.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for Ham Talk Live. It's episode number 71. The National Boy Scout Jamboree, and also Jamboree on the Air and on the Internet with Jim Wilson. K5ND, recorded live on Thursday, June 29th, 2017. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight, we are joined by Jim Wilson, K5ND, the face and the voice of K2BSA, and he'll be here to talk about several upcoming radio scouting events for the boys' side of things, and we'll take your calls live in just a few minutes. And last week on the show, Sean Kutzko, KX9X, was here to take all your field day questions. I hope everybody had a great field day. We sure did here. And if you missed the show, just go over to hamtalklive.com and you can listen there. Or you can catch the podcast version over on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, or SoundCloud. And we're also over on YouTube. So you can always catch us on one of those. Well, get your scouting questions ready to go after the interview. I'll let you know when it's time to give us a call, but here is the phone number. It's 812-NET-HAM-1, 812-638-4261. Or you can Skype us. We're Ham Talk Live on Skype. And you can also tweet us. We're also Ham Talk Live on Twitter. So I'll be back with Jim right after this word from Tower Electronics here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you in part by Tower Electronics. Tower Electronics has been the Ham's dime store since 1978. When you need connectors, mobile and handheld antennas, cables, or adapters, visit Scott or Jill at a Hamfest near you. Or you can order online at pl-259.com or call 920-435-2973. Stock up on those supplies like PL259 and N connectors, SMA adapters, audio cables, soldering supplies, mobile antennas, and ham sticks. Their silver-plated N connectors are even used on the International Space Station. Tower Electronics carries MFJ, Comet, Daiwa, OPEC, Workman, and Ham Pro products. And don't miss their 0% off sale going on now. Tower Electronics, online at pl-259.com, proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
A flashlight is a case for holding dead batteries. Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
Thanks to Scott and Jill at Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show once again tonight to help bring you Ham Talk Live. Their next Ham Fest is July 8th at Oak Creek, Wisconsin. And if you're not going to Oak Creek, Call 920-435-2973 or visit them online at pl-259.com and tell them you heard it on Ham Talk Live. And we're here every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here at hamtalklive.com. And if you miss us, well, you can catch us on most popular podcasting sites as well as on hamtalklive.com. Jim Wilson, K5ND, is retired from the Boy Scouts of America headquarters, where he spent 21 years in publishing and communications. He is now a freelance writer and continues to volunteer as chairman of the National Radio Scouting Committee, National Jamboree On The Air organizer, and a member of World JOTA and JOTI team. He's the president of the K2BSA Amateur Radio Association. You can check out their website at k2bsa.net, and over 172,000 scouts have earned the Radio Merit Badge over the years and formally exposed to amateur radio. So, Jim, welcome back to Ham Talk Live.
Well, thank you very much, Neil. It's good to be back here, and I appreciate you hosting us and the opportunity to talk about radio scouting.
Yeah, now we're going to talk about several things, but the one that we kind of wanted to hit right away, because it's coming up here in just a couple of weeks, is the National Scout Jamboree. Now, this isn't JOTA, this isn't Jamboree on the Air, this is the real Jamboree, but you're going to be on the air at the Jamboree. So tell us all about what's coming up at the National Boy Scout Jamboree.
Okay, well, I usually start at the top of the funnel and work my way down, but the National Jamboree happens every 4 years. In 2013 was the first Jamboree at the Summit Bechtel Scout Reserve in West Virginia. And actually, it was the first event there in West Virginia. It's a new property for the Boy Scouts. It's 10,600 acres, nestled in the mountains of West Virginia, adjoining the New River, National River. And quite frankly, there's everything you could possibly want to do in high adventure at this facility, from mountain biking to rock climbing to whitewater rafting, shooting sports, archery, skateboarding, you name it. There are world-class facilities there. And frankly, there's world-class facilities there for amateur radio as well. ICOM America is a big sponsor of amateur radio and scouting. They've installed 3 repeaters there. They're active year-round for all the scouting events there, so they'll be on the air during Jamboree. Our operation is about just over 40,000 staff members have signed up to work for 2 weeks at the Jamboree, putting amateur radio on the air. Now, we'll be joined by a total of about 9,000 staff members running the Jamboree for 30 to 35,000 scouts that will be participating. The Jamboree runs from the 19th through the 28th. I'll be getting there on the 15th. Most of our staff members will be arriving on the 15th and the 16th. We'll be setting up, so we'll be on the air probably on the 16th, 17th, 18th, doing some testing. 19th, it's the 19th that the scouts arrive, and so we'll be actively engaged running demonstrations for the scouts. We'll be operating a demonstration station. We'll be running radio merit badge training, and we'll have amateur radio direction finding course as well. Now, for the operation itself, there are the area that we're located in is called the Summit Center, and that's the area of the Jamboree that's open to all scouts as well as all guests. And they've set it up kind of nice, so guests and visitors can come in and participate in certain elements of the Jamboree, but not the really high adventure stuff that the Scouts have paid big money and made big trips to get there. But the Summit Center is only open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And so those are the hours of our station, although we also hope to get on the air in the evening just to hand out some QSOs. We're going to do that by remote control from our staff camp, and we'll see how that goes. But we expect to have 3,000 Scouts through our demonstration station. That's what we did in 2013. Maybe we'll beat that number in 2017. But we need other people we need other hams on the other side of that conversation, and Scouts. An example of one of the stations that's going to be on the air during the Jamboree is station K5K, operating from the Philmont Scout Ranch in New Mexico. They're going to be active right from the Tooth of Time traders there at Philmont, getting on the air, working the Jamboree station, and other people that happen to be on the air at that time. So that's our big call to amateur radio operators, is get on the air. Talk to Scouts, share with them some of your experiences in scouting and amateur radio, but help us out. We think we're going to be challenged because of the propagation, but we'll see. 20 meters should be good, 40 meters too, probably, 17 meters. Mostly will be on phone. I'll also mention that we have a nightly net on Echolink. We're going to be using the Jambo conference node, JAMBO, and that net is at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time during the Jamboree. So we'll be taking calls into the net from those that are at the Jamboree, as well as via Echolink from around the world, actually.
All right. So, again, the dates on that, July 19th through the 28th is the active time. They'll be setting up a couple of days prior to that. But July 19th and 28th, we need people on the air between 8 and 5 Eastern Time to talk to Scouts, and then they'll be on the air some in the evenings as the remote control goes, and then Echolink on Jambo, so 7:30 p.m. Eastern there. So just another rundown of all of that, and we'll kind of recap that again at the end in case you missed it. And then you've got some scout camps on the air this summer as well.
Well, we do, and I would encourage you, those of you that are putting scout camps on the air, to register your station at the program that we have called Scout Camps on the Air. It's at scota.us, scota.us, and so there's a lot of scout camps that are on the air. We also authorize the K2BSA portable stroke 5 or stroke 6 also to use the call sign. There's a number of those that are active. And then I'll mention that this summer there are national jamborees in Norway, Canada, Luxembourg, and Germany, as well as the World Scout Moot that is operating in Iceland right after, I think maybe right after the U.S. National Jamboree closes down.
Okay, very good. And you're going to have frequencies available on Facebook and Twitter and the website. So why don't you give that information also?
Go to K2BSA/Jamboree-Live, Jamboree-Live. And on there, we've listed all the scouting frequencies, where the Echolink conference nodes, the Echolink repeater nodes, and we're also on D-Star. We have a D-Star repeater there, and we'll be connecting that to reflector 033A. So all on K2BSA.net/Jamboree-Live. And then, as Neil said, we're going to be putting up in real time on social media, Twitter, K2BSA Scouting Twitter, and the K2BSA Facebook page, we'll be posting frequencies as we speak live at the time. So that's a good way to keep up with it. There's also the spotting networks that should be helpful there too.
All right, very good. So we need you guys and gals to get on the air and talk to these scouts and the staff that's trying to set things up. So get on the air, track them down, and give them some contacts here in just a couple of weeks. So that's the big news here that's coming up right away. But I know we've got a couple of other things we want to talk about. There's been some changes to the Radio Merit Badge. And so let's talk about the Radio Merit Badge for just a minute.
Yeah, I'll mention that Radio Merit Badge over the years has grown quite a bit in the number of scouts that earn it. Back in the 50s through the 80s, it was 1,000 a year. Starting in the 90s, it started to climb. Coincidentally, when the Morse code requirement dropped away, and now it's in the 6,000 to 7,000 a year range that are earned. In January of this year, we announced new requirements. We added a new option for amateur radio direction finding or fox hunting. Now there are 4 options. One of those options is amateur radio. Another one is broadcast radio. A third one is shortwave listening, medium wave listening, and then we've added this 4th one of amateur radio direction finding, which is a perfect match with scouting. It gets them outdoors, finding hidden transmitters, combining orienteering with amateur radio. But we've made quite a few revisions to bring this up to date as well. We're talking about cellular telephones. Those are another radio that you have in your pocket. And how that applies to help make better connections with scouts. But we also dropped some circuit requirements, schematic symbols and components. They're already covered in electricity and electronics merit badges. So this would allow us to focus on expanded radio modulation as just one example. So new things in Radio Merit Badge. We've also created some incredible slide decks for our Radio Merit Badge program at the Jamboree. They have a lot of animations. They're very eye-catching. They teach the Radio Merit Badge in less than 4 hours. And so those are online as well, ready for those who are putting on Radio Merit Badge workshops back at their councils. So that's what's happening with Radio Merit Badge, Neil.
Okay, and there you heard it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. The PowerPoint slides are there for you to download, and they're very well done and ready to go. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel when you're teaching the Radio Merit Badge. So that's some good stuff. And then the thing that I think most hams are familiar with, at least the most, is Jamboree On The Air. So let's mention that. That's a little ways off yet, but it'll be here before we know it.
Well, it's getting closer all the time, and we recommend you start planning, of course, in January. And you work at this time to make sure that a scouting event, maybe a camp out or a camporee, is lined up with Jamboree On The Air weekend, which is always the 3rd weekend in October. This year it's the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd of October. This is the 60th anniversary of the largest scouting event in the world, with over 1 million participants across 150 different countries. So check in with your local club, see what's happening, connect with a scout unit, see if you can help out. And I'll mention that in 2016, interest, I saw it explode inside scouting for Jamboree On The Air. And there's a big reason for this. There's a participation requirement for the Webelos Arrow of Light Award. Check that requirement off by participating in Jamboree On The Air or Jamboree on the Internet. So parents and unit leaders were really out in force during 2016, looking for a way to get involved in this. So it's things are coming together very nicely.
Okay, so we'll look for that, and of course I always remember it because it's the weekend either before or after the fall school club roundup. So I've been on the air all week, and then the Scouts get on. So that's a great week there to get on and encourage the youth to get involved in ham radio. So we're going to come back here in just a moment and talk some more with Jim, and we're going to take your calls live. So if you have a question, get that ready to go, and we'll open up the phone lines and the Skype lines here in just a moment, and take your calls with Jim Wilson, K5ND, right after this, here on Ham Talk Live.
Whether you're traveling to a ham fest, a public service event, a radio club meeting, or you're even at work, on vacation, or at a sporting event, we want to see where you're having fun this summer. And to make it even more fun, take a picture at that place with Flat Hammy. Flat Hammy is a printable version of the Ham Talk Live mascot, Hammy, VE1BCN. So just download the picture, print it out, and take it with you. Snap a picture with Flat Hammy in it, and then send it to us on social media or by email. The directions are right there next to Flat Hammy. And watch our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram feeds for fun pictures of Flat Hammy all summer long. To print out your copy of Flat Hammy, just go to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram feed, or you can go to hamtalklive.com and click on the link to the show schedule. You'll see the link to Flat Hammy at the top of the page. Enjoy the summer with ham radio, Flat Hammy, and Ham Talk Live.
If a man says something in the woods and there are no women there, is he still wrong? You're listening to Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp. Join the conversation. Call us on voice with Skype at Ham Talk Live, or give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Now, here's more Ham Talk Live.
All right, we are back on Ham Talk Live, and make sure you check out our Facebook page and Twitter feed and Instagram. Just search Ham Talk Live, you'll find us, and of course we're at hamtalklive.com for the show, and all the information is there, as well as a schedule for upcoming events. And yes, you can download Flat Hammy and print that out and take it with you, and maybe we can get some Flat Hammy pictures from some of these scouting events this summer. Who knows? Well, it's time for your calls now. So if you have a question for Jim, give us a call now at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Or you can call us on Skype. We're Ham Talk Live there, and you can also tweet us at Ham Talk Live. So go ahead and fire away on your questions or comments about the Boy Scouts and ham radio. Jim, while we're waiting on those calls to roll in here, let's talk a little bit about one of our favorite topics on the show, which is the Dayton Hamvention. You guys had a nice setup at Hamvention again, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was really a great experience. Just from the perspective of the Hamvention, let me mention that in years past, every time the Hamvention would be over, there would be much wringing of hands as to whether Hara Arena would close or not. I was generally myself personally praying that it would close. But now the conversation is, how are we going to improve it? Add a new building, add some more tents, better drainage, all kinds of things. So the conversation is just completely flipped. So I'm delighted to see this. But I'll share, we had a good booth there. In years past, the ARRL has provided us space in their exhibit for amateur radio and scouting in the K2BSA operation. We really appreciated that. As they moved into the new facilities, they found themselves without the space to host us, but we all together worked with the Dayton Amateur Radio Association. We had a booth right next to the ARRL exhibit. It went very, very well. ICOM America stepped up and sponsored our booth and helped us with that. So we had a great display. Staff members from the Jamboree and elsewhere volunteered to staff the booth, so we had excellent coverage. We had a lot of good traffic, so it was great. I really enjoyed how it all worked out.
Yeah, we've had Michael Coulter on the show and talking about some of the improvements that are forthcoming, and we'll see if that new building ends up being a reality, and it's told us a lot of those things. So we're looking for great things in Hamventions to come. Well, again, the phone number, if you want to join in on the conversation, is 812-638-4261. That's 812-NET-HAM1. And you can also Skype us or tweet us. If you have a question about the National Jamboree or Jamboree on the Air, Radio Merit Badge, teaching that, or any of these other things. And it looks like here, Jim, you've got some CW operators involved in Boy Scouts as well. Now, back in the day, and as I always say, back in the day when I had to walk to school uphill both ways through 10 feet of snow without any shoes in the middle of a Sharknado.
We went to school at the same place.
Yes, we did. when I did my Radio Merit Badge, we had to learn code. And so, you said, that's been dropped, but you still have some CW activity. So tell us about the CW Ops Award.
Well, I'll actually mention, too, way back in the day, to get your first class badge in scouting required you to learn Morse code. And interestingly enough, for a first class badge, you need to learn Morse code. Radio Merit Badge, I think at one point it was 10 words a minute, and it might have dropped down to 5 words per minute, and then in the 90s they dropped it entirely. But I'll mention a funny story. The CW Ops, we'll get to that here pretty quick, provided an award to the Boy Scouts of America. And I attended the dinner, their dinner at Hamvention, and I sat next to a guy there, a member of the CW Operators Club. So he's a very high-speed CW operator. And he said he was in scouting, and he never earned his first-class badge because he couldn't do the Morse code. So some things change. Some things change over time. But, yeah, the Boy Scouts of America was honored by the CW Operators Club with their award for advancing the art of communicating with Morse code. And this is the second year that they've made these awards. Some pretty distinguished people have earned them. In last year, the fellow that wrote The Art of the Zen of Radio Telegraphy, and some of the founders of CW Ops. So Boy Scouts was very, very pleased to get that, and it was chiefly in recognition of the Morse code interpreter strip. And for those in the audience who aren't familiar with this, it was introduced about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago by the Boy Scouts. They have interpreter strips that they're sewn on the uniform above the right pocket. And typically they say Espanol, or they'll be written in Arabic or Francais, and a scout can see that and recognize that here's somebody that can translate for them, that can talk to them in their native language. And so they introduced one in Morse code, and it spells out in dots and dashes the word Morse. Now, the backstory on that is the Radio Scouting Committee, the National Radio Scouting Committee, was searching out a way to get recognition on the uniform, a patch, because that's what works in Boy Scouts, for amateur radio. And our proposal to the Awards and Insignia Committee was, why don't you just say ham radio on it, and this will recognize the skill set that is involved. And they, after quite a few weeks, if not months of deliberation, came back to us with a memo that said, well, we looked at this and we realized that ham radio really isn't a language. And then we said, well, wait a minute, what about Morse code? And we went back and looked at your proposal, and no, you didn't say anything about Morse code. So no, we can't approve this. Well, 30 minutes later, we had a proposal in front of them for the Morse code interpreter strip. And about an hour later, they had it approved. But and later, I met up in person. Actually, he's one of the major Jamboree organizers. I met up with Russell Smart in person, and who was on that committee. And he said, well, Jim, I guess we telegraphed our intentions to you. So, yeah, and so several years later, the CW Operators Club recognized Boy Scouts for keeping Morse code alive and well. And it is a pretty popular patch for both leaders and the Scouts. They can show that you've got 5 words per minute, and you can sew the patch on your uniform.
Very cool. Well, that's amazing, and that keeps on going. So, good job on getting that proposal to them in quick order. That they didn't have a chance to say no. So,
yeah, exactly. I will mention as well. We did end up with yet another patch. It's called the Amateur Radio Operator Rating Strip. And it says amateur radio operator, and it goes on, I've forgotten which sleeve of the uniform, but it goes back to, there were rating strips for Scouts in the 1940s. Earned several merit badges, and you could have the Radio Man rating strip, and there were several others. And so they liked our proposal, and we got it approved. And so it's an official badge for Boy Scouts of America. So we eventually got that one approved as well.
Very good. 812-638-4261 is the telephone number. That spells NETHAM1, 812-NETHAM1. Or Skype us or tweet us and join in the conversation here with Jim Wilson, K5ND, the voice of the K2BSA Amateur Radio Association. So, I know there's some other upcoming radio scouting activations, and over at my other volunteer job, over at Amateur Radio Newsline, we have Mr. Bill Stearns, NE4RD, which I still love that call sign. And he gets on there almost every week and kind of runs down what radio scouting events are coming up in the next few weeks. So that's another way that you can find out about some of these scouting events on the air is listen over on Amateur Radio Newsline. But can you give us a few that are coming up in addition to the big ones here that we've talked about?
Yeah, let me, I've got to pull that. We actually, on the K2BSA website, we have a calendar of we have an application process if somebody wants to use the K2BSA call sign for a scouting event. And we're limited, of course, to we authorize K2BSA/4 in the 4 call sign area, for example, so there can only be one at a time on any particular day. But let's see. It is July 29th. We've got K2BSA/8 at Rock Creek, Ohio, at the Beaumont Summer Camp. They're on the air right now. Tomorrow, K2BSA Stroke 4, it's the Order of the Arrow Friday Net from Camp Barstow in Batesburg, South Carolina. And then let's see, K2BSA Stroke 0 at Camp Geiger in St. Joseph, Missouri starts on Monday and is operating through the week, through 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, to the 14th of July. K2BSA Stroke 8, Trail to Eagle in Matamora, Michigan is on the air Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, 26th, 27th, 28th. And then we've got, let's see here. I should have mentioned this. The USA Radio Scouting Net is the second Thursday of every month. And it's at 9 p.m. Central Time. It's on. The next one is the 13th of July. It's on Echolink, the JOTA 365 conference node, JOTA-365 conference node. And then, of course, end of July, we've got the K2BSA National Scout Jamboree in West Virginia.
All right. So K2BSA.net for those. And again, Amateur Radio Newsline, you can listen for Bill over there and check those out. So again, the phone number, 812-638-4261. If you want to join in, we have just a few minutes left. One other thing we could talk about here, while we see if we have any questions out there, is people that are teaching the radio merit badge. Now, I've gone through this, and our club here in town has done that several times, and so it's always nice to have some ideas. And we mentioned a while ago that those slide decks are available on the website, so you can just pull those down. But what are some tips that you have for those people who are trying to teach the radio merit badge?
Okay, well, I've not taught it. My suggestion for radio merit badge or Jamboree on the Air or however you want to engage scouts with amateur radio is to go where the scouts are. So radio merit badge, line up with a merit badge university that might be happening in your local scout council. They're always eager to add more merit badges to those gatherings. The scout shows are another way to do that. I mentioned before Jamboree on the Air. You know what weekend that is. It's the third weekend in October. Work with a scout unit. That's the easiest way to work with it. Or the next level up is a district, or there's the council. But line up a camp out or a camporee during that weekend. And that way you've got a built-in activity for the scouts. I talked, Field Day was an opportunity to engage scouts, to invite them out to your Field Day activation. I've heard some were successful with that, but I heard quite a few were not. And it's the age-old problem of trying to get scouts to go to your event. Scouts are busy. Man, when I check in with my grandkids, they've got back-to-back events going on all weekend long. So it's really hard for them to check in anywhere that's somewhat of a random activity. If they're already at a camporee, you're golden. So, well, that's I've taken your question about radio merit badge and morphed it, but that's I think a timeless message. Go where the scouts are, so that you can be an activity where they're at. Summer camp, many of these summer camps that I've mentioned, they're there because they're putting on radio merit badge during the summer camp. So that's where the scouts are. They're working on all kinds of merit badges, canoeing and swimming, and stopping by and checking out amateur radio as well. That's a great way to do it.
Yeah, one of the things that I've found in teaching, which I teach outside of the scouting community, I do it at the high school, is, a captive audience always helps. So that's a great tip. How do you get kids to show up? Well, you offer it when they're already there, and that's a big thing, because these kids are busy. They really do do a lot of stuff. In fact, sometimes too much. And so if you can offer that at a time and location where they're already there, why it makes it a whole lot easier for them. So, well, Jim, thanks so much for coming on. And I want to finish up here. Just reminding everyone with some information here. In fact, K3FHP, Dave over on QRZ.com said, just give me the dates and times and frequencies. So let's go over where somebody like Dave could find just dates and times and frequencies. So remind everyone about the websites and what's available there, and the social media sites one last time.
You bet. It's k2bsa.net/jamboree-live. And we've listed all of the frequencies. There are actually frequencies, HF frequencies, that are designated scouting frequencies. And so they're used around the world, promoted primarily by the World Organization of the Scout Movement. We also list the Echolink nodes for the demonstration station, for the repeaters that are there, the D-Star reflectors and the D-Star repeater. So it's all there at k2bsa.net/jamboree-live, and then monitor social media, K2BSA on Facebook and K2BSA _scouting on Twitter, and we'll be posting live when we are available and what frequencies that we're on. I'll also mention K2BSA.net has a Jamboree On The Air email newsletter that goes out from time to time, more frequently as we get closer to Jamboree On The Air. So subscribe to that. And on every page in the upper right-hand corner, there's a subscription form. And fill in your email address and your name and your call sign, and you'll get on the list. We have about almost 1,700 people on that list right now, and the issue just went out today. The other website to look at for activities is JOTA.info, JOTA.info. It's the World Scouting's website for Jamboree On The Air, Jamboree on the Internet. And don't neglect a Jamboree on the Internet for some of your activities this October. Propagation isn't our friend these days, and there's a lot of things that you can do on social media, Skype, YouTube, etc., engaging scouts and keeping them active for a really fun weekend. So, that's... Oh, and Scout Camps on the Air, SCOTA.US, Scout Camps on the Air. Great way to find active events, what frequencies they're on, etc., and to register your own so other people will be aware.
All right, Jim, thank you so much for all that great information, and hopefully we can get some people on the air to talk to the scouts at that National Jamboree coming up here in a couple of weeks, as well as the JOTA and JOTI. So that is a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. Thanks to Jim Wilson, K5ND, and everybody out there in cyberspace for listening. And I'll invite you back next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to know who's coming up on the show, you can go to hamtalklive.com. There's a link there that says show schedule, and you click on that, and it'll give you the latest schedule of upcoming guests. Again, hamtalklive.com, and click on the show schedule link. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7-3. 888-866-7875, and may the good DX be yours.